Hello, my name's Daniel. People call me Prada, and I'm gonna give you a quick explanation of how to build a simple calculator using Vue.js as a way to show how easy it is to build interfaces that are interactive. Okay, so I'm gonna start. I recommend. Oops, I'm gonna just actually remove this. Let's open a Visual Studio Code instance. I'm gonna go to File, New File. All right, I'm going to save this on my desktop for the purposes of this. So I'm going to call this just index.html. I'm going to save it right here on my desktop. Okay? All right, so hello. So with any file, you can actually visit it by using just the path. You can also open it on your browser here. If you go to desktop on Mac, for example, you can just double click it and you'll open it there. So as you can see, what I have here is what you can see there. So I'm going to actually put these side by side so it's easier for you to see. Okay, so here, I say hellos, hellos. Okay, so let's start making this HTML document. So I'm going to build an interface that has on the left-hand side a expenses, and then you're going to put your income, and then it's going to give you your net, basically return on investment, your ROI calculator, right? So it's going to be ROI calculator, right? So it's going to be what I'm going to be building. Well, first I'm going to start adding Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a CSS framework that kind of makes it easy to start building user interfaces, right? So, they basically you go CSS. Oops, sorry, I want to go Bootstrap 4. Get started. And then we go here, CSS. And so we're going to start building the HTML document this should be. So we say HTML, head, body. We're going to add the style sheet for Bootstrap. I'm going to put this title in here. Perfect. Reindent. Okay. Perfect. I'm obsessive about indenting correctly because it makes a big difference to understand what's going on. All right, so now we have here our ROI calculator. Let's put this in a container so it's centered up to a certain point. Right? Okay, perfect. Now from here, let's do I have this little drawing here. I'm going to start with a input for we're going to have, well, here, actually, let me find the example here. Examples, not examples, documentation, input group, right? Now I need forms, right? I think, yeah, this is perfect. Right here. So we're going to actually build here. So I'm going to explain these elements, each of them together, but I want to just kind of start getting something that you can actually start seeing. Right? I'm going to do row. I'm going to put these on the left-hand side, so I'm going to put these inside a column here. Col mid 6. Which basically should make it just show me a column that it's going to cover half the screen. Okay. And we're going to, let me do it this way so you can see both. All right. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I want to have an input for, let's say, total income. I'm going to say total expenses. So this is going to help someone basically, after you put in your values, you'll see the ROI on a project here. Right, so that's here, and so we're going to have, so we have this form group, right, which basically, if you use the developer tools, it kind of just organizes everything neatly. Yeah, let me move my face over here, right? So we have this this form control group that that actually indents and spaces out these characters nicely, has help text underneath. I'm going to modify. All right, right, so we're going to have, first of all, total income, label for income, input type is going to be, take a number, example ID, it's going to be income, right? And I'm going to call this expenses. Already described it as kind of like for accessibility. And I'm going to say described by, I think for the purposes of here, we could have, see, it was describes the object, right? So let's say income input. It's not obligatory. I just put it sometimes just to, expenses. Just keep it the concept. All right, and for this would be income help. You don't have to put this. I think it's kind of self-explanatory, so I'm going to remove both these elements. Okay, perfect. So now we have your income and expenses, and we have we want to show these are both numbers actually. Okay, and we want to show here some sort of total. So let's do like an H4 total, and it's going to be here, right? Let's say it was 120% or 20% return, right? So perfect. So that's let's do it this way actually. You'll see the return on investment on a project. So okay, it looks pretty simple. Looks like I'll probably put a on here. I'm gonna put a margin top here. 2M. That means twice the base height of all the fonts. Okay, cool. So that seems pretty simple. Let's now kind of use Vue to make this interactive, right? So I'm going to go here. I'm going to use Vue.js. So Vue.js is this awesome tool. Here, let me remove this. Okay. That we can start using, get started, and we can use the development version right here. There's a lot more to Vue, but I want to just use this so you can start kind of messing around with this. So this script tag right here, you should always refer to the documentation of what you see there, and you go here, and then you say script. Let's add this as the last element before the end here. Okay, and a Vue app, it needs to have a container or an ID app. Typically, that's the pattern, so I'm going to do that, ID app. Right, and if we go to the documentation here, so we're getting started, perfect. So we're going to do a script. We're going to initialize Vue, and as always, I recommend being obsessive about indentation, re-indent lines, because it makes it easy to see how things are structured. So we're going to have a thing here. It's going to be new Vue. So let's start from this point. So at this point, we have it's still the exact same thing that we had before, right? So it still just has no interactivity. But here's where we start kind of making things that are interesting. So the Vue has this concept of abstracting like data from the HTML. It makes it really easy to build dynamic templates. So as we see, we have two values, right? We have income, right? And I'm going to give income just a default value of, let's say, 10,000. If you do actually if you do an underscore, you can actually use that to instead of using the 10 with 4 zeros, just to make it easier for you. And we have expenses, right? Then we'll do, let's say, 8,000, right? So we have that's the state of our application. So here we'll say something like, okay, well, this is actually, this ROI is expenses minus income. I'll put this inside parentheses, and then income, right? So expenses, sorry, income minus expenses over expenses, my bad. Perfect. So there is my ROI is 25, 0.25. But I think people are used to 25%. So we'll probably want to multiply this times 100, right? And we'll probably want to add a percent sign after that, right? So this is just an expression, right? Double brackets means, hey, I want you to do this. And actually, it's pulling this from here. Okay, well, now we have 25%. But it's kind of weird because you'd have to edit the file to then see any changes on what this thing is you want it to be. So let's make it kind of more interactive, right? So now we're going to make it so that you can put in any income and then go from there. So we're going to actually say we're going to do this thing called vModal, right? And we're going to say, hey, this is actually going to attach to income, and this is going to attach to expenses. So as you can see, Vue has now pre-populated those fields and given the values automatically, right? So we have 10,000, 8,000. Now let me modify this. Oh, wow. So I can do 200. Okay, well, 10,000. Let's do 20,000. Right, so it's easy to now see your ROI. Okay, so that seems kind of interesting. So let's kind of clean this up a little bit. So Vue also has this idea of called a computed property, right? Because this starts getting messy, especially as you start adding more and more logic. Like as you see, if I start doing anything where I say, my income is actually 2432,144, right? You get these repeating numbers. Let's say, and this was 80,000. Oops. Right. So these are kind of numbers that are hard to, it's not as helpful, right? We want to have nice little whole numbers, so it's easy to understand. Maybe even just 2 decimals. So we can use this thing called computed properties, right? So instead of me doing all this math and logic here, I can actually tell Vue, hey, I want to actually when I want to do computed properties, I want something called return. I'm going to call this return on investment. It's going to be a function, right? And it's going to get this value, right? And the way you can reference this income expenses here, you say this dot income and this dot expenses over this dot expenses, right? So oops, and then I have to put return on investment here. Okay. So that's, now we have it nicely put here, and it's easier to manipulate. So then I can do something where I say, okay, const percentage is equal to this. Oops, sorry. Right, and I want to do some logic here. So this is going to give us a percentage, but sometimes we want to make sure it only has so many zeros, right? So we say percentage to fixed, which means basically, hey, I want it to only be a certain amount of decimal places, and I want it to be a maximum 2, right? So that way, it always has 2 decimal places. I can do other ways, but I think this way it's kind of consistent for it. But I think it'd be nice to have it with commas, right? I think also JavaScript has a basic method called locale. Let me see. Number to locale Mozilla Developer Network. To locale string, sorry. To locale string. Oh, sorry, that's not what I want. It would be. I think that's fine. So if I do here, no, I have to go here. I guess, because this becomes a string then. Okay. I'll just do it this way actually. I'll leave it for here for now, and then I'll make it add the thousands next ones. Okay, so here, I think we have a good example of how to get this going. but it's kind of hard for a person to just total up their expenses like that easily. Maybe it'd be nice to just have it somewhere somehow broken down, right? So maybe we want to do something where we say we want to move the expenses to the expenses to the left and the income on the right, so it's easier to see how to do this. So let's do that. So I'm going to do another column, mid 6, right? I'm going to drag this group over here. I'm just moving elements around. Still everything's the same, and I'm going to actually move the ROI to the bottom center, right? So if we go here, I'm going to do this, class, text center, right? These are all Bootstrap classes that do this automatically for you. So now we have it kind of left and right, kind of easy to see, and the inputs respond mobile easily, but on desktop they go here. And so just to clarify, so if you don't know about Bootstrap, row means just I want to set up a row, and then you have call. So Bootstrap has MD, XS, sorry, MD, SML, large, and XL, right? And you can basically say, hey, on desktop do this, mobile do this. So I could say, hey, call SM12, which is kind of redundant, but you could do it anyways. And on here it's 6, right? So that way you could say, hey, on anything on smaller screens do full width. On bigger screens, on anything bigger than a medium screen, just go a half of that, because it's always a factor of 12, because 12 is an easily divisible number, right? So anyways, so now we have here. I want to add more kind of categories for expenses, right? So I want to do at least another 3, right? So I want to do here maybe 2 or 3, right? So I'm going to do let's see, here we're going to do expenses. Let's do labor expense, or sorry, let's do social media, the marketing spending. And let's just call this expenses. H3, expenses. Oops, sorry. Expenses, and I'm going to make this one income. Revenue. Right, so now we have income and expenses. So we have marketing. Let's do maybe let's do, what was the example here? Sales, other, right? And so now we have other values, right? So we could say we're going to have a new modal here called, I'm going to use Command D to select multiple, and I'm going to say sales. Here we're going to say marketing, sales, and other. Sorry, it's right in front of me. Okay, perfect. So, and I'm going to actually set up some examples here. Marketing, sales, other. Right, so I'll do 2, 1. And now you can see here, you have marketing, sales, other. Okay, that's helpful. But I think we want to, what's happening right here is, like, as all you can see, none of this is getting factored into the ROI, right? It's still always happening over here. Okay, well, that's kind of annoying. Let's make it so that it, what's it called? That it factors in the sales and other, right? So we have to go back to our formula here, and let's define what expenses are, right? Total expenses. It's not going to be this expenses plus this dot sales plus this dot other, right? And from here, we say expenses. We're going to now replace this, because it's really just still expenses. And now we have all of these being factored in. Maybe let's make our default income 20. All right. Let me see. Okay. But I kind of don't like how this is all looking, right? Because it should be more like a table. Let's make a table here. I think this is getting kind of confusing. So I'm going to do a table. A table should have a T head and a T body. let's have a TR for the rows in the head, and we're gonna have columns, which will be we'll call it the category, and then the cost, and then we're gonna have a T footer row also, right? And that's also gonna have here and T, right? TR. TD. Total cost. Okay, so Bootstrap actually has a lot of default stylings for tables, so I'm gonna put that here so you can actually see it. So okay, perfect. Let's do table, table bordered, table striped. So they're kind of ones I use a lot. Okay, so now let's do tbody, and let's add tr. We're gonna have td, the category, which would be marketing, and we'll do an input. So which would be here. Right, and we're gonna do this 2 more times. We're gonna have sales, other, right? And we're gonna just say sales, other. And as you can see, I'm a power user of hotkeys. I believe so much in them because anytime you're clicking, you're losing valuable time. Okay, perfect. So now we have this, but I want to see total expenses actually. Oops, I have 2 tbody tags. Silly. Okay, well let's add this other total cost thing, and this is as you can see, we need to know our total cost, and we could do, we have here marketing plus sales plus other, right? And that, oops, sorry, yeah, marketing plus sales plus other, yes, not a number. Maybe I'm messing up something here. Let's look at the JavaScript console. Marketing. Okay, I gotta be able to speak. Marketing. Marketing. Perfect. All right, so now we have that there. So let's make this have a $sign. But I don't like doing these kinds of things because it's easy to it gets lost easily. So let's actually go here. So say compute, it's going to be a comma here. We're going to say total expenses function, and we're going to say return this dot marketing plus this plus sales plus other. I'll put this in a parentheses. Actually, let's just say this. Let me do it this way. Total expenses is this. And I think you should be noticing the pattern that I now have 2 total expenses, right? This one and this one, and it's kind of silly to have both. So why don't I just say this dot total expenses and this dot total expenses, and now Vue will use the values from here on here. Perfect. Oops, and I did not even replace it. That's what I should do. Total expenses. Perfect. So now, if I increase any of the values here, say 10,000. So maybe I'm missing something. vmodal, marketing. That was my mistake, and we're not using expenses anymore. We're using marketing, sales, and other. So now it should be bam, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Okay, it looks like it's adding them as numbers. Let's say parse int. Let's parse this as a number. So if I do here, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let's see. this income. Let's see. Console log this dot income. Okay, that's a number. What this? That's a number. That is a massive number. That shouldn't be that way. Marketing plus sales plus other. Ah, of course, because they're all strings at this point in time. So here, oops, let me replace these. They're all going to be strings. No, they're numbers. Probably when I edit them. Oh, one of them becomes a string. Okay, that's the issue. I'm silly. So I have to parse as an integer each of these. Wow, now I have like no light. All right, now let's see if this perfect. Okay, so that should now do it. Okay, so now I have income, expenses, and ROI. But maybe I would want to tweak it so that it'd be nice to see like if it's positive, it's green, and if it's negative, it's red. So Vue actually can do dynamic properties. So in Bootstrap, you can do stuff like if I say if I said I think text success, I can make it be green. Yay, that's cool. And if it's text danger, I believe that's red. What would be nice is if it changes to that automatically every single time. So let me switch it for something that like can make it dynamically change. Right. So we're gonna say hey, make the class. It's gonna be an object, and we're gonna say text danger. Basis is hey, make it have text danger when ROI is greater than 0. Oops. Here, I have to put this in quotes, my bad. There we go. A is greater than 0. And then text success, oops, sorry. Text success is on greater than 0, and text error, text danger if it's less than 0. So, perfect. Oops, I did not write HTML correctly. That's probably why. So this would be here. So let's do if we have just 20,000. Oh, now the ROI is negative. Very cool. But this is kind of like again, messy, and I don't think it looks that nice. I always think it's nice to have good computed properties. So I'm gonna do one called styles for ROI. And that way I can easily see it much better here. Okay, return here, here, right? So I think that's much simpler. I think I'm gonna say this and this. And notice how that I use the word this when I'm using inside the JavaScript code, but in here I'll just use the name of the variables as they are inside data. So then I can now just pass here styles for ROI here. So same thing. If I increase here, it costs too much, it looks there. Let me see if there's anything I can do to make things look nicer though. To locale string. So I could do it this way. Okay, perfect. I gotta stop using the word perfect. I think I used it like 30 times, so that's a little excessive. Now I'm gonna be always just thinking about not using the word perfect. My little rule here. That looks reasonable. I think something you could kind of show. I still don't like how all these zeros are, and I honestly forget how to make them all look formatted. So I will find that view input comma formatted number. Okay. Okay, it's going to make the type attribute dynamic. Let's see, there's another way. Yeah. Here. Yeah. There's ways of doing it, but I think it kind of goes beyond what I want to show here because I think it's going to get unnecessarily complex. But now you have it, a little way of doing income and expenses and knowing your ROI. Let me know if that makes sense, and looking forward to making more in a better lit area.